I am writing this from my desk in New York as the clock slips past 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. In Tucson, the sun has already disappeared behind the mountains. It is day 10 since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing. The widely discussed deadline has come and gone. No new public message, no visible breakthrough. Search teams are still moving through desert terrain, volunteers still answering calls, investigators still working quietly. Behind the scenes and in the middle of that silence stands Savannah Guthrie, composed and publicly quiet. No new appeal today, no additional statement. For some watching, that silence feels confusing. For others, it feels deliberate. But today, another voice entered the conversation, not loudly, not on air, but privately. And what that voice offered was not speculation about the case, but reflection on the human dynamics shaping how this moment looks from the outside. A private reflection from Anderson Cooper. At 58, Anderson Cooper has built a career on navigating crisis with steady presence. He has reported from war zones, natural disasters, and deeply personal tragedies, including his own. According to those present, he spoke this afternoon during a private video call with a small group of colleagues and longtime acquaintances, people who have known both him and Savannah professionally for years. There were no recordings, no official remarks, no intention of turning the conversation into a broadcast segment. It was reflective rather than revelatory. He did not claim inside knowledge of the investigation. He did not offer dramatic new facts. Instead, he spoke about something quieter, the relationship between a daughter and her mother, and how that lifelong bond can shape how someone carries themselves in public moments of crisis. Strength as a learned language. Anderson reportedly described Nancy not as a character in a headline, but as a woman who raised her children with determination and resilience. Losing a spouse early and raising 3 children alone demands fortitude. In households shaped by hardship, strength often becomes the family language. It is not necessarily harsh or unloving, it is protective. It says, "The world can be difficult, so we will be tougher." Anderson suggested that Savannah absorbed that language deeply. For some families, emotion is shared freely. In others, emotion is managed carefully, expressed privately, and balanced with discipline. If that was the environment Savannah grew up in, it may explain why her public appearances during this crisis have followed a structured rhythm. Gratitude first, clarity next, appeal last. Not because she feels less, but because that is the emotional grammar she learned early, watching the videos through a different lens. Those who joined the call said Anderson encouraged them to rewatch Savannah's public statements, not for what they contain, but for how they are delivered. The pacing, the tone, the absence of visible panic. In many hostage or disappearance cases, families plead through tears. Savannah's approach has been measured and direct. That difference has sparked commentary online. Anderson reportedly framed it differently. He suggested that composure is not the opposite of anguish. It can be the container for it. When she says, "we will pay," it is not theatrical. It is controlled. And control, in certain upbringings, is synonymous with love and loyalty. Maintaining steadiness can feel like honoring the person you're fighting for. It can also be the only way to keep functioning when fear threatens to overwhelm everything else. The silence between statements. One of the most striking aspects of this unfolding story has been the gaps between Savannah's public remarks. Days passed before her first video appeal. Since then, updates have been sparse. To some, that silence feels strategic. To others, it feels restrained. Anderson reportedly emphasized that waiting can be its own form of discipline. In journalism, speaking before you are ready can create confusion. In family systems built on composure, speaking too soon can feel like losing control. He did not suggest that this is right or wrong. He suggested that it is consistent. Consistent with someone who has long been trained professionally and personally to respond, not react, to gather herself before she addresses the world. Silence, in that framework, is not indifference, it is preparation. Public armor, private reality. Another theme that reportedly surfaced was the idea of armor. Public figures often wear it by necessity, but armor that protects can also weigh heavily. Anderson has spoken openly in the past about his own experiences with grief and expectation. He understands the tension between public poise and private vulnerability. According to those who heard him speak today, he expressed empathy rather than critique. Savannah's calm may be sustaining her right now. It may also be exhausting her. When someone has internalized the belief that strength is mandatory, letting down that guard, even briefly, can feel unsafe. Not because they lack love, but because love has always been intertwined with resilience. A mother and a daughter. At the heart of all of this is a relationship that predates television studios and national headlines. Savannah is a daughter before she is a co-anchor of today. The cameras capture only a fraction of what she is experiencing. In private, there are likely moments of fear, of fatigue, of whispered prayers. Anderson reportedly suggested that we remember this distinction. Public demeanor is not the full measure of private emotion. The absence of visible tears does not mean the absence of heartbreak. It may simply mean that heartbreak is being carried differently, shaped by a lifetime of lessons about how to endure generational shifts and personal growth. Those on the call also noted that Anderson reflected on how Savannah parents her own children. Colleagues have often described her as warm and attentive, allowing space for feelings. If that is true, it may represent evolution rather than contradiction. Many adults adjust the emotional patterns they inherited, keeping what strengthened them and softening what constrained them. But when a parent is in danger, we often revert to our earliest instincts. The foundational rules feel active again. In crisis, people return to what they know best. For Savannah, that may mean structure, discipline, and a refusal to unravel publicly, even if unraveling would feel understandable to others. Compassion over analysis. The call reportedly ended not with a dramatic conclusion, but with a quiet appeal for perspective. Anderson encouraged those listening to resist turning this into commentary about tone or posture. Investigations are complex. Families are fragile. In moments like this, it is easy to project meaning onto every pause and inflection. Harder, but more generous to allow that different people express fear in different ways. Some cry openly, some grow quieter, some speak in measured sentences because that is how they survive. None of those responses are inherently more loving than another, holding space for hope. As night deepens over Tucson and the search continues, uncertainty remains. What Anderson reportedly offered today was not a revelation about the case, but an invitation to empathy. Savannah Guthrie's composure may reflect years of professional training and a childhood shaped by resilience. It may also be the shield she relies on to keep moving forward hour by hour. We cannot see what happens when the camera turns off. What we can do is extend patience, hope for safe return, and remember that behind every public statement is a daughter waiting for her mother. In moments like this, understanding matters more than speculation.